And we are live. Welcome everyone to our hangout for this week. First off, sorry that I wasn't there last week. But yeah, life goes on. And today we're going to talk about gun control, gun violence, and violence on average in the Western world. But I won't start right away because I'm going to give people a time to join us because it's we just went live now. I have with me Rin. Thank you, Rin, for coming. I have invited other people, but yeah, so far no one has seemed to be able to come. So
yeah, I was really surprised, because usually you have, the regulars, like Carlos, Alicia, Clegg, John, the regulars, the usual people.
yeah, well, John had something real life, and in all fairness, I can't remember what he said or he didn't tell me, but he couldn't make it today. He had to go somewhere, and he's traveling. He's going to travel early tomorrow morning, so yeah, he's sleeping now, which is a shame. But yeah, real life happens, so it's understandable. Carlos has been taking it slow a bit for a long time. And yeah, I have sent out messages over the Twitter, but not a lot of people have responded as of yet, which is okay. Maybe people will join later, and if not, we will manage just the two of us. Yeah, that's what Ludacris said, by the way. He's traveling. John is traveling tomorrow, and he has to get up early in the morning, around midday. I'll not make a joke about it though, because around midday is early in the morning for me too.
Yeah, it's usually crowded. Like usually have like Nobody, Smirkus, Saints Clair.
Yep. Well, people have been invited. I can't remember if I sent a message to St. Clair. Maybe I didn't.
Yes, Saints Clair, he was a regular. Smirkus, Nobody.
Yeah. I could send them if I haven't yet. But nobody stopped coming a while ago because of work. Yeah, St. Clair sometimes does, St. Clair doesn't. You have to threaten them. No, Ludacris. People are welcome to join and welcome to stay away. I don't do threatenings. I do believe in voluntarism. I can't even pronounce the word, so I don't really believe in it that much, apparently. But I do believe that people, if they want to come, they are welcome to come. And if they don't want to come, yeah, okay. No problem there either.
And but if you ever decide to threaten them, I'll bring the rope.
And don't forget the mega hats.
Yeah, so we could just tie them up, put mega hats on them. Make America great again.
Yes, this is a mega country. Sorry. Yeah, I can't do that though because I'm not in America. No, that's true.
How are things in the Netherlands? Have some of the in the Netherlands? Have you been negatively impacted by what Articles 13 and 11? Have you seen any negative effect, or does it take a while for the effects to take place? Like, is it like it won't go into effect until next year?
It's going to take a while to take effect, I'm sure of it, but it is already affecting Europe. It really is, because if I look at mainstream media, the way they are reporting on it, hardly anything has been said about it. Which kind of is weird, considering that this was a big issue, not just online. This was a big issue in Europe as well. So that they're not really talking about it now kind of fills me with dread is the wrong word, but yeah, it makes me apprehensive because this is shit's going to hit the fan. That's my take on it, and I'm quite curious how it will, to be honest, because let's be honest, it's rubbish. You create a law to basically protect big companies online at the cost of small companies online. And it's a version of what the Spanish government had done a few years earlier. And during that period, Google withdrew its services to Spain. So I'm really curious what's going to happen in Europe. But yeah, there is that.
And I remember how we talked about PC madness before, and how there's going to be perhaps laws taking effect where you could possibly go to jail for criticizing Islam. Is that's going to be the case?
That's already in several countries in Europe. That's already the case.
That's already the case. So you, Modwain, living in the Netherlands, you could get arrested if you say the wrong things about the religion of peace.
There have been people arrested for doing less than I'm doing, not just about Islam, but also about feminism, for example. This is my most favorite explanation. This is the explanation I give why I use an avatar and not show my face. Tim Hunt, I think it's Tim Hunt. He's a Nobel Prize winner in the UK. And there was a feminist journalist who lied about him making an anti-woman joke during an interview. And he lost his job. He never made that joke. It has been proven that he didn't make that joke. But because he made a joke, or he was being believed to have made a joke about feminism, which has been proven to be a lie, he lost his job. I'm not a Nobel Prize laureate. So what chance do I have if some fucked up feminist is going to tell my work that I made a joke about feminism? And I don't make jokes about feminism. I'm merely stating the truth, which is probably far worse. Yeah, stay anon as long as you can. Speaking from experience, indeed, Anirtak, I read your, I saw your video. Was it a live hangout that you talk about it? I think it was a live hangout. By the way, Anirtak, if you want to join, because I have invited you in the past during the stream, if you want to join, we're going to talk about gun violence and gun control, etc., etc. And you made a nice video about it, not too long ago. So if you want to join, let me know. But anyway, so yeah, there is definitely a risk in Europe to tell the truth. I mean, it's kind of funny because someone not too long ago shared a video. I think it was on YouTube. It could be on Minds. I can't remember. Shared a video about a woman in China being arrested for something she did online. And
I'm not surprised with China because
I am going to tell you something else, though. I am surprised about China, but this has been the truth in Europe for several years already. And that's something that scares me. So we're going to talk about how terrible China is. This is happening in England. This is happening in Germany. This is happening in Sweden. Ooh, China is bad. Yeah, I'm sorry, but I'm sorry to hear that, Anirtak.
Yeah, it seems like Europe is adopting like the Chinese internet.
Well, in a way, we are worse than China. I mean, China is at least a communistic country, so people aren't surprised that China is doing this. We're supposed to be a free Western society. People in China can easily criticize the things they want to criticize, but they have a very strong, reluctance to do so, because there's a chance that they will be met by law. In Europe, people can't even, it's not even that you can't criticize, you can't even compliment. There's been a girl in England that has been, I remember the sentence, don't get me wrong, but a friend of hers died during a car crash, and she posted the lyrics of a rap song that the kid liked. And because she posted the lyrics of a rap song of an artist who's still free to perform in England, she got punished. Because the lyrics were too, well, something or other.
Well, I mean, if it makes you feel better, I don't think it's going to last too long. I mean, it's going to probably outlive us, but I mean, there used to be like blasphemy laws in England, and people, like when I read Oscar Wilde, I think he said "egad" because like you can't say "by God," so people said "egad," like EGAD, you know. Yeah, like people.
We have blasphemy laws in Europe now, don't get me wrong.
Oh, you still have blasphemy laws? Oh, you can't criticize Islam.
We haven't, or we have them again, because it's not even that you can't criticize Islam. You can't repeat the tenets of Islam unless you're an imam. Now, if I'm an imam, I can tell you what's in the Quran. But if I'm not an imam, I cannot tell you what's in the Quran, because then it's hate speech. I can literally quote the book. I can show you the text on the page in the book at the moment I read it out for you. But it's considered hate speech.
Yeah, but it's kind of a lot like I think that England, well, at least with England, it became more atheist over the years, even though it had like really strict blasphemy laws and people like couldn't say by God. And I mean, like I looked at all of these old euphemisms where people try to like get around, you know, like I can't say this, so I'll say this other thing instead. You know, it's kind of like how, you know, it's like if you can't say God because it's disrespectful or whatnot, you say gosh. If you can't say Jesus, you say but Jesus, or you would say, you know, by golly.
And instead of sex, you say gender, because that's where those words come from.
Yeah, or just like instead of saying, you know, asshole, you say butthole, or instead of saying shits, you would say shoots. You know, it's kind of like how people, you know, like if you can't say a word, you just people end up creating alternative words so that they could, you know.
Censorship.
Huh?
It's called self-censorship.
Yeah, but I mean, people do try to find inventive, creative ways to still get the idea across.
Yeah, I know. It's called self-censorship. And yeah, you can make other words, but eventually those words will be blocked as well. And
I don't know because again, we had, well, not we, but England had really strong blasphemy laws. But it's like over time, you have all of these celebrities who's like, oh my God! But not only that, but they'll even go, you know, even further. They'll say like fuck and God in the exact same sentence, or they would say, yeah, you know, they would blatantly say like I hate God or fuck God or God isn't a real person, or you know, it's like, or you know, some people would say like Jesus Christ is my N-word, you know. It's like over time, you know, all the things that was held sacrosanct are now, you know, ridiculed. So
that's the thing with Puritanianism, let's call it like that, with people being Puritans. It doesn't matter what you say, as long as someone can find a reason why you aren't allowed to say it, then they will use that reason why you are not allowed to say it. Now, eventually, we went from a theocratic, totalitarian state to a more liberal state. And liberal in England means something else than liberal in America, to be honest. So we lost a lot of those things, not just in England, but in the whole of Europe. But we're going back to totalitarian states. And what happens during totalitarian states? Well, totalitarian states like to control the narrative.
Yeah, but I think that what did you say something?
In Europe, the narrative is currently being controlled.
Yeah, but I was thinking that, I mean, I don't think it's going to last long, but unfortunately, there's a plutocracy, and you would have to wait until the powers that be get sick and tired of the rules and want to change it. Like I think that that's what led to the spread of atheism. Is that I think that there are just some people at the very top who are a lot
You're breaking up.
like this shit, and it's just kind of like I
You're
should.
breaking. Yeah, I heard
Yeah.
two periods of silence, so I'm not quite sure what you said.
What was the last thing you heard me say clearly?
Oh my
What
God.
was the last thing you heard me say clearly?
I'm trying to remember. I can't. What I found out is you was talking about something, then you broke up a little bit, then you said something, and then you broke up again.
Well, I think that we live in a plutocracy and things go the way of the rich. So it's kind of like if the powers that be were to be like, we don't really like social justice anymore. Social justice would end because the powers that be don't like it anymore.
Well, there is that. There is that, and it's very double because it's almost as if everything that the liberal movement in Europe stood for is now usurped by the Bolshevik movement. I like to call them Bolsheviks. I know it's not completely Bolsheviks, but if we look at what's happening in Europe, there is nothing the democracy is doing in Europe. Hell, the countries that are at the moment showing their democracy are the countries that are being berated by the European Union. England or the UK, United Kingdom, is being berated because they dared want to leave the European Union. Italy is being berated because Salvini doesn't want to be a lapdog of Brussels. Hungary is being berated because they allow their citizens to own guns. Poland is being berated because they're not taking in the refugees Europe wants them to take in. Never mind the fact that they're taking in Ukrainian refugees, and they're the only European country that does. But Europe will pretend you're not taking in any refugees because you're not taking any Muslim refugees in. But, I mean, they're not even refugees because Angela Merkel a few years ago said, oh, you know what? Come on over. So now we have people from Morocco. Even in the Netherlands, we have people who are looking for asylum in the Netherlands from Morocco. Because, yeah, we all know what a crazy hellhole Morocco is with their civil war. Oh, no, wait a second. They don't have a civil war. No, actually, Morocco is a quiet, peaceful country at this point in time, and it has been for quite a while. Hi there, high desert. So the narrative is being driven by politicians and the media, and proving them wrong is dangerous. Therefore, it must be illegal. I'm not even blaming Islam for it or anything. I'm actually blaming our politicians and our media for it.
Yeah, I just think the problem is that we live in a plutocracy where everything goes the way of the rich. So it's kind of like if rich people want intersectional feminism, it's like we're stuck with intersectional feminism because that's what rich people want. And it would only disappear if rich people decided we are sick and tired of it. And if rich people are tired of it, then they're going to...
I'm sorry, Ren. I'm sorry. You understand it. It's not what rich people want. It's a tool they use, but it's not what they want. It's what Machiavelli written in The Prince. It's divide and conquer. As long as society keeps fighting over the crumbs, they're not looking at what's really bothering them. Feminism is a way to keep the masses occupied. That's it.
Yeah, because I mean, I remember the last time we were talking about a plutocracy, but I don't know how you believe that plutocracy affected society.
Well, plutocracy or corporatism, actually. Well, plutocracy still, because it's basically the same thing. The thing is that the laws that we are being governed by are made by the the rich, the big corporations, the rich politicians that take bribes from these rich corporations. And by these methods, they influence and steer our society. I mean, look at what Soros is doing with his open border society. He destroyed the economy of several European countries in the last decades. He's trying to destroy the economy in America, but to do so, he has to sow discord within the society. Not just him. There are more people out there. I mean, if we look at, for example, the will of the people when it comes to open borders, most people don't want open borders, especially the poor. They don't want open borders. Why? Because the people that come through into your country, and this is true for America, but this is also true for Europe, are on average ill-educated, low-paid workers. But every country has a lot of low-paid workers, ill-educated workers. So the poor in a country are going to have to compete with the illegal and legal immigrants.
So do you think that we would eventually see a similar fall, like the fall of the Roman Empire? Because I think I'm not sure, because I heard that there are two different things. That there's the fall of the Roman Empire, and then there's the fall of the Holy Roman Empire. But I know that in at least one of the falls, I think I read a website that says that the wealthy took on a lot of slaves, which puts their citizens out of work, and their citizens, if I recall correctly, had to become mercenaries in order to have any type of work.
Well, it is indeed the fall of the Western Roman Empire, where slaves were all of a sudden pushed for freedom, because the slaves suddenly had to be released into freedom, because they had to pay taxes. And if not enough people pay taxes, the government couldn't support its own weight. And this is what we're seeing now, because they're talking about how they're letting in refugees and immigrants from different countries, because otherwise our countries can't sustain their welfare payments. We need more people working so that more people pay into the welfare system, so more people can live off the welfare system, which is the main argument that the left is still using to say, open borders is good, because the more people we get in from Syria, Iraq, or in America's case, Mexico and Guatemala, the more people we get from these countries, the more people of those countries work here, they pay taxes here, and therefore our welfare system becomes more sustainable. But what we are seeing in Europe and what we're seeing in America is that the reality of the matter is that these people are a drain on the welfare system, not a surplus. And this is something that happened in the old Roman Empire too. It's a drain on the welfare system. It's not a surplus. Europe needs to go back to Fort Europa by closing their borders. America needs to go back to 1960s border control, where they will basically say, you know what, if you can't contribute to our country, you're not coming into our country. Now, I saw a small clip where President Trump said, okay, borders are closed, no more immigration. And I'm not sure if it's a first April Fool's thing or if it is true, but in all fairness, it makes sense. It should be true. Because there's something inherently wrong with a society when they will let in anyone, even if they cannot contribute and bring a surplus to a society. Because if we bring in poor people just so that they can uplift them, then we are basically saying to our own poor people, and every country has poor people, fuck you. You cannot help people from other countries whilst ignoring your own people.
Yeah, it does seem like the working class in America gets ignored. And it takes me back in the day, like how celebrities like Madonna would be boasting and bragging about how she helped people in Africa, while ignoring the fact that there are millions of people right here in America that need help.
And that there is something seriously wrong with that. There's something seriously dangerous with that. Because let's be honest, if you have a bunch of poor people living in your country and they are your countrymen and you ignore them, but you're bringing in poor people from other countries who do not want to submit to your society, part of your culture. They want to bring in their own culture. So they help each other, they drain the welfare system, and they will grow. Whereas your own poor, who are also a drain on the welfare system, are being berated for being a drain on the welfare system. Eventually, you're going to create a situation where people are going to stand up and fight back.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, and here's another thing that's going to go wrong. I mean, Muslim people, they do have the Muslim identity. And with their place on stuff like this, like they're going to want a Muslim leader. They're going to naturally want to see more and more Muslim leaders. Like, I don't think that they would want to be led by a white Christian woman or a white intersectional feminist woman. They would want to put another Muslim, and most likely a male Muslim. I don't even think that they want to see a female leader. I think that they would want to see a Muslim male leader in charge, because they are still a very patriarchal society, like a real patriarchy, where women are not allowed to drive, where women are forced to wear a hijab, where a woman is flogged if she does something wrong. So it's an actual patriarchy.
Yep. And the problem with that, oh, sorry, I need to burp. Oh, sorry. And the problem with that is that in the end, the group that will be hurt by this are the poor of your own country. And revolutions don't start with the rich. They only start with the rich when they want to better their own position. But when revolutions start with the poor, they are far more bloody. Because let's be honest, we have seen revolutions that were started by the rich. Hell, we're seeing them now with Antifa in America and in Europe. Because let's be honest, these are rich kids. But we also seen revolutions started by the poor. The latest one is in Europe has been a few hundred years ago, because that was France. But that was a very bloody revolution. Even rich people that sided with the poor got murdered because they were rich. So there's something really scary about that. And this is what I wanted to show, by the way. Up, stop. Okay, because I did want to talk today's stream about gun violence. And I'm going to start it off with something that happened in Chicago, where two kids attacked a man. And yeah, you know what? I'm going to show you guys.
Are you going to be allowed to show us on YouTube? You're not worried about YouTube striking you?
I'm not worried about YouTube striking me. I'm done caring about YouTube. I'm not big, so they don't care about me, which is good. They still owe me $30 or 30 euros or whatever that is. I don't care. I seriously don't. But here goes. Okay, you guys can see it? Yeah, you can see it. Let me know if you can hear it. Okay, you saw these two guys attacking that man. Someone inside of McDonald's is filming it. And you don't hear anyone really reacting to the fact that a man is being beaten on the other side of the window. Can you hear it, by the way, Ren?
I mean, I can hear what they said, but
okay.
Yeah, I can hear people, but I couldn't hear what they were saying, though.
No, that's okay. That's okay. Let's continue then. And now you hear people screaming. But why are they screaming now? You see that? The man pulled a gun. And that's when they start screaming. So when the man was being attacked by two thugs, they didn't care. They were filming it. Oh, yeah, well, it's bad, but they were filming it. As soon as the man pulled the gun, I'm going to play that bit again. Yeah. Hoppa! So there's something seriously wrong with our society, and this is in America, for fuck's sake. Can you imagine how it is in Europe? This man is being attacked by two thugs, and someone inside the McDonald's is feeling like, oh yeah, no, it's perfectly all right for me to film it. But as soon as he pulls a gun, you can hear the shouts, no, terrible, no! Yeah, I'm surprised those guys are alive too. I think I would have popped at least one of them. But then again, this man has more restraint than I do, which is a lot more, indeed, High Desert Pioneer, a lot more restraint than I do. But this is, funny enough, this is the problem we're seeing in the Western world. Not just in America. This is in Europe too. We are living in a society where the right to defend yourself is being frowned upon.
Yeah, that's unfortunate, but I mean, it's also coming largely from the left because obviously right wingers believe that everybody should have a gun, but the left is kind of like arguing against people having guns.
Yeah. Well, in Europe, we're not even allowed to have a gun. I mean, the UK at this point in time is one of the most violent countries in the Western world. What am I saying? The violent country in the Western world. The Americas, the United States, sorry, not the Americas, the United States have 5 very violent cities. But if you don't count those violent cities, they have a very safe community. They have a very safe country. I mean, if you don't count cities like Detroit and Chicago, which have very high gun laws, very restrictive, if you don't count those cities, America is a very safe country. Washington, which is also, I think, it used to be the murder capital. I'm not sure if they still are, with London going for the prize now, but it's scary. I mean, in the UK, they've been working to ban guns since the turn of the 20th century. They started even before the First World War. They already started banning firearms. And in 1990, the last law banned handheld. They have an increase in violence. They have an increase in knife violence. They actually have an increase in gun violence. Now, don't get me wrong. I don't think that it's purely because of gun laws. I think there's more to it. I also think that it depends who you let into your country. Because criminals don't care about gun laws. So if you let in a lot of criminals, they're not going to care about the gun laws. But at the same time, this is in America. This is in Chicago. A man is being beaten during broad daylight next to a fast food restaurant. And people find it fit to film him instead of going out to help him. But as soon as he pulls a gun, you can hear the people being scared. You can hear the people being worried. You can hear the people being anxious. What the hell is happening with our society?
I think it's because, like if a person, I guess they're afraid that they themselves might get hurt, that the person might be a madman, and that they would turn their gun and shoot them, when to me it was clearly obvious that the man was only protecting himself, and he probably wouldn't need to protect himself if people went out there and said, hey, stop it, don't do that, don't hit him. Like, we don't know how things could have played out differently if people who were filming it went outside to say, stop, don't do it, this is wrong.
But why are people scared that the man pulling the gun will attack them, but they were okay with the man that pulled the gun was okay being attacked?
Can you repeat that question?
No. Well, why is it that people are not okay with the man pulling a gun, but they are okay with the man being attacked before he pulled the gun?
I don't know. I think it's because people love I hate to say this, but you know, like how in America Jerry Springer is, or at least was very popular. I think people, or you know how wrestling, even though wrestling's fake, there are people who like wrestling and boxing matches. I
But
think it is that people like
story.
watching.
This is how is this fake? A guy gets attacked by two kids half his age.
No, this is real, but I'm talking about, you know, how we have a culture where it's like Jerry Springer, that people like watching fights on Jerry Springer, they like watching wrestling. I think that they just didn't do anything because they were getting pleasure from it.
Doesn't make sense to me. It doesn't
It
make
doesn't make sense to me while people like the Jerry Springer.
well. I can care less about people liking something like Jerry Springer. I don't think anyone takes it serious, or at least they shouldn't. But
Yeah,
this
but I think it's like people. No, the reason why I bring up Jerry Springer is like as an example of, you know, people enjoying watching a fight. You know, like watching
I mean,
a fight for
I like
pleasure.
I like watching a fight as well when it's in a movie or something, or as you said, wrestling, which is all fake. But I'm not going to stand by and watch if someone gets attacked.
Yeah,
That's
but
not
like, I've seen this in high school, and when I was in high school, there are people who would rush to the fights, and they'll be like cheering for one side, and it's like, oh, I'm cheering for this guy in the fights, or the other person like, I'm cheering for this guy in the fight, and people are like, shoot, you know, and it would be like a real fight, a genuine fight where people could get hurt, but people are rooting it on and celebrating it.
But then there's something seriously wrong with your society. Then there is
Yeah,
something seriously wrong with your society.
yeah, I agree.
I mean, if you're going to say, well, we like the violence, then sure, then the guy should be able to defend himself as well. No, we don't want him to defend himself. We want him to be a victim.
Yeah, I think it's because if a person has a gun, they are afraid that, like, the people like watching it and enjoying it, but they don't because it's low risk. Like when it's a fist fight, it's low risk, and there's plenty of opportunities to like run away or escape.
Okay,
It's
well,
not a lot like.
everyone who believes fist fights are low risks have no idea what they're talking about. One well landed blow and you're dead.
I'm talking about for the observers, that the people cheering it on and rooting for, you know, the people like, rah,
No,
rah, rah, yay, more, more.
they're idiots. One good punch and you're dead. Fist fights are still deadly. People seem to misunderstand the fact that violence has but one outcome if left unchecked.
Yeah,
So,
I just think that like it's like they like in the fist fight, the people in the camera are protected by, you know, walls, but they may be more afraid of their own safety if the guy with the gun were to swing around and shoots the person filming it.
I'm very sorry, but then they are the most selfish individuals in the world. They can sit there, eat their hamburger, and watch the show, but as soon as the show doesn't turn out the way they wanted, they are upset, they're scared. In the Netherlands, and I'm not sure, but I think this is the same in just about everywhere in the Western world, it is illegal to witness a crime and not do anything.
Well, they'll most likely want to put it on YouTube and Facebook for views, get like lots of views for it,
And
and
yet,
increase their own popularity.
you can do that, but at least call the cops.
Yes, they should have called the cops.
Or try to intervene, or tap on the window so that they know they're being watched. That in itself could do something. But they don't do anything. Indeed, Mark Lithick, it's called accessory to a crime if you watch it and you don't do anything. These people do nothing. But as soon as the man pulls a gun to defend himself, I'm going to show you something else. And this is about Europe. This is not about America. This is about Europe. This is from Breitbart. They called it the League of Shame. In 12 years after the Firearms Act in 1997 was passed in Britain, these are the violent crime numbers. And now people were going to tell you, well, they're not gun crime numbers. And I don't care whether I get killed by a gun or by a knife. The end effect is that I'm still going to be dead. So this is the situation in the UK at this moment. Well, not this moment. This was in 2009, but I think this is a later version. They scored higher than South Africa. And not just a little bit higher. I mean, it is scary to me that we like to think that these things don't happen in the Western world when they constantly happen to us. And what I find funny, if we look at a list like this, we don't see countries like Switzerland on lists like this. But in Switzerland, everyone is allowed to have a gun. Actually, they're required to have a gun. But if we look at Belgium, Belgium has a high, how do you call it? You're very likely to find someone in Belgium with a gun. They have a lot of guns in Belgium. Not as much as America or Switzerland, obvious, but they still have a lot of guns. So if guns are the real problem, why is Belgium scoring lower than the UK? I feel for Europe. I hope they find their balls and have a successful purge and set yet another historical precedent. Mark Lithick. Yeah, you know, I somewhat understand what you're saying and I agree with you, but it's not just Europe. Because this is what's happening in America as well. Not as badly, but it's still happening. I mean, in America, they actually have people in the House of Congress advocating to abolish Homeland Security. I'm sorry. No, yeah, we don't want Homeland Security. We don't want ICE. ICE is bad. For fuck's sake.
Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez?
Well, yeah, she's one of them. She's not the only one.
Oh, yeah, she's crazy.
What's the one? The one that married to her brother. I forgot her name.
There's the one married to her brother?
Yep.
Ew. That's crazy, man.
Yeah, she's the House Representative of Minnesota, I think, which in itself is quite a stir as well because she doesn't come from Minnesota. Or rather, well, obviously she doesn't come from Minnesota because she came from another country, but she didn't even live in Minnesota. What was her name? Olhan, something like that.
Are you talking about Ian Omar?
Yeah, that's the one.
Ian Omar, Omar, something like that.
Yeah. She married to her brother so that
That's nasty.
Yeah,
that's really gross.
And all. It's amazing that she's allowed to stay in Congress when she broke the immigration law like that. But hey, you know, I'm not the one to say what America should do. I kind of find it funny though, and I'm sorry, I'm going to stop sharing this one. It's somewhat upsetting though. If you look at the UK is standing smack dab at the top of the list. There's something really wrong with that. Now stopping to present. Now, 3 days after the shooting in Christchurch, New Zealand, we had a shooting in the Netherlands. A Turkish guy shot people. About 9 people got shot. I think 3 or 4 eventually died. So it's not a big deal if you compare it to Christchurch, but it's still a big deal because in the Netherlands, no one is allowed to have a gun. Well, that's not true. Not no one. Hardly anyone is allowed to have a gun. But yeah, the thing is, criminals don't abide by the rules. So where you are unlikely to find a Dutch person owning a gun, it's very easy to find a criminal owning a gun. Well, it's not easy to find them, but it's more likely that a criminal will own a gun than that a law-abiding citizen owns a gun. I, therefore, of the idea that it would be a far better thing to give gun ownership back to the people, to stop pretending that the government has a monopoly on violence, which is what we do, which is what we believe in Europe. We believe violence is the monopoly of the state. But they can't, well, they can't live up to that.
Yeah, people trust the government to keep them safe.
Well, we need something to be safe. And it's almost as if it's. I mean, I'm curious because I'm not sure if Anitak is still here because I'm curious what she thinks about it. It's almost as if I'm talking about the right to own guns from a point of view of fear, and maybe that's correct. I don't know. Maybe that is, but there should be a reasonable semblance of safety in the Western world. And the way we are talking about gun ownership and trying to prevent people to have guns, it's almost as if our governments will do anything they can to give us the feeling that we are not safe. Welcome back, Anitak. I was hoping on your point of view on this one because I said that I want gun ownership to be free again in Europe. But one could argue that I make my point out of fear because I want the population to be able to defend themselves because I see what's happening when they're not allowed to defend themselves. Now, I know you also have your ideas when it comes to gun ownership. You're not the only one, obviously, but I am curious if I'm indeed portraying it from a fear point of view or from a safety point of view. I like to think that I'm looking at it from a safety point of view. I want the populace to have gun ownership because it creates safety. Gun ownership is a product of fear. Nick, if you want to join, let me know, by the way. But what do you mean gun ownership is a product of fear? Well, that is my idea too. I mean, we need gun ownership. Oh, sorry. Anitak said they make us victims by not allowing us to defend ourselves. And I agree with that because even in the Netherlands, you're not even allowed to fight back. Even if you don't own any arms, you're not allowed to fight back. So I'm not sure if it's me motivated by the fear of being attacked and the fear of not being able to defend myself, or whether it's fear or not, still have a good point. A justified fear, yeah, thank you. But Nick, I'm curious, what would you think of this complete wall of sound that I've been pushing for? Or maybe you want to say something, Rin. Yes, indeed, Nick. Gun ownership outside of hunting or sporting is still intended for protection, and I believe that. Now, criminals will be criminals, so people who commit crime will commit crime, no matter the law. Law-abiding citizens should have the right to defend themselves. And Green Badger, that's a very good point. I've been making that point myself in the past. I have seen a lot of people making that point. If owning a gun is negative because you don't need a gun because the police will protect you, then why the hell are we being told to own fire extinguishers? Because aren't the fire department going to protect us? Well, no, obviously not, because the fire department can't be there on time. So why do we believe the police can be there on time, but the fire department can't? Bathroom sanitation products. You have to explain that one, Mark. I'm really curious about that one. And yeah, well, the world is scary, Nick. I am going to respond to that. You're correct. The world is scary. We don't like to believe that the world is what it is. That's why we have girls traveling from the Scandinavian countries into Morocco, where they then get their heads cut off because they don't believe that those countries are any worse than their own countries. Though I'm pretty sure they wouldn't have got their heads cut off in their own countries. Bathroom sanitation products control the spread of disease. Yeah, you're correct, Mark. That is true. Oh, I'm noticing myself getting angry. I'm maybe a little bit rambly, but I notice myself getting angry because this is what we're seeing in Europe at this point in time. And the worst part is this has been going on for more than 100 years, but on average, it seemed to work because European societies were getting safer. But if we look at America, in America, society was getting safer. So whether there is gun control or not doesn't have anything to do with the safety of your society. Look at Switzerland. Just about everyone in Switzerland can hold a gun. Some people are actually by law required to hold a gun. But if we look at the violence numbers in Switzerland, they're pretty low. Normal people get angry, brainwashed people get emotional. Well, I'm not quite sure if I'm normal, though. Are you still there, by the way, Rin? I think I lost Rin. Ah, there she is. Rin?
Sorry, huh?
Well, I was wondering whether you were still there, but
Oh, sorry. I think it's the insomnia kicking in because, insomnia is something I struggle with too sometimes. Though, yeah, eating potatoes does help because potatoes causes drowsiness and certain things, help fall asleep, but it's the staying asleep that's, is the problem.
yeah, I know that. I know that. Unfortunately, I know that.
So it's like, like I would sleep, but then I would sleep for 2 hours and then I'll wake up and then, so it just affects me mentally.
I'd advise you to go to the doctor and have your vitamin D checked. It could have something to do with that as well. In the northern hemisphere, we tend to be low on vitamin D in our blood, and that does negatively affect our sleep rhythm.
Yeah, I probably should. It probably is vitamin D deficiency because I work at nighttime, so I don't really get much sunlight.
And you are a black woman, which also, well, not because you're a woman, but because you're black, because your skin takes in less vitamin D from sunlight than white people do, and even for white people, we don't get enough. So there's a good chance that you're not taking in enough vitamin D from sunlight. Now, you could supplement it, or you could eat fat fish, for example. But vitamin D deficiency really is a problem, and it can affect our sleep rhythm. Because what a lot of people seem to constantly forget, vitamin D is not a vitamin, it's a hormone. And our body needs it to function correctly. So, I mean, I know it helped me, and it comes back, but now it's the end of winter in the Netherlands, so I'm hoping that things will be a little bit better for me in a few months. But yeah, at the moment, I still have disruptive sleep patterns. Let's call it like that. So I feel you.
Yeah, because it's like I know the potassium, it helped me a lot. Like it helped me in the first set the word really good because like I had that some of that good sleep where I was getting hours and hours of sleep, but then after a while the effect started to fade. Like before, it would be like 8 hours of sleep after eating a potato. Then it's like 7 hours. Then it's like only 2 hours of sleep.
Yeah, I would check the vitamin D if I were you. I would really would check the vitamin D.
I do have some vitamin D tablets, but I don't eat it every day. But maybe I should take it more because I do work at night, and because I work at nighttime, like that's when I do my work. I don't get enough sunlight. I do not
Yeah.
have enough sun exposure.
Let them check your vitamin D value in your blood, and if you are below 30 mol, which I think is quite likely, to be honest, you should not take a pill of 800 or 1,000 mol. You should really go to 50 mol per week, for 50,000 mol per week.
50,000.
Yeah, it's a lot. Trust me. It's not that bad though. It doesn't taste bad or anything.
Oh yeah, I take vitamin D tablets, but
Yeah, but they something like. Are they over the counter?
Yeah, they're over the counter.
Okay, then they will not be more than 1,000 mol. But that's only if you're going to go for the 1,000 mol one. The more common one are around 200 mol, which is way too little. I mean, that's nothing. That's not even enough during the summer for people like you.
Oh, I see.
People like you, I mean, people with a dark skin, because the dark skin makes it harder for the skin to transfer sunlight into vitamin D, which actually is a how do you call that? Protective measure. Because if you have a way too high vitamin D, is also not good for you. So if I were to live in South Africa, I would need to go find shade very often, because being in the sun too much is actually bad for my health. But at the same time, if you were to live in, for example, the country I live in, I need to go looking for sunlight. You need to look for it quite more. You cannot resorb vitamin D with also. That's not completely true, Real Raven. You have how do you call it? It's like an oil. I don't have it nearby, so I can't read it up. But you do have. Well, yeah, that's what I mean. You have it in oil. They eat fish oil, but it's usually in a fish. In liver, you will find a lot of it. But yeah, it depends on how it's being brought to you. In pill form, it depends on how it's being brought to you. But I don't think Rin is a vegan. Are you, Rin?
No, I am no vegan.
Thank God. I'm sorry, that doesn't make sense. But no, yeah, I don't think you're a vegan. But the darker your skin tone, the more problem your body has getting vitamin D out of sunlight. So, and if you then also work at night, hey, there's very little sunlight at night.
Yeah, I get very little sunlight.
So I would seriously go to the doctor if I were you, and then have it checked. And it's not well, I don't know how expensive it is in America, but it's not that expensive in Europe. Vitamin D is rather cheap, actually. Back in the days, we used to buy, how do you call it? Levertran, whale oil.
Whale oil?
Oh, yeah, that was absolutely horrid. But yeah, it's chock full of vitamin D. It was so horrid. Eat more chicken. No. Liver oil. Yeah, that's cod liver oil. Well, no, cod is something else. But yeah, no, cod liver oil does the same thing. It's so... it really isn't a nice taste. You can't make it nice. Yeah, you can drop in as much sugar or what you want. It's not going to help, but it is very healthy. That's the only thing I can say. It is very healthy. It's dreadful, though. I even tried doing it together with honey. And I like honey. Destroy the taste of honey. Yeah, cod liver oil capsules are better. Yeah, and then try to get the ones with a real high amount of vitamin D. So anything less than 5,000 per tablet is not worth it. And then you can take 5,000 a day, or 25 in a week, or 50 in a week, whatever. I would just keep your vitamin D checked. It might help you.
Okay, you have 5,000 per day.
Yeah. Lebertran. That's in German. I don't think Rin speaks German.
I know only a little, like ein, zwei, drei. And I think, what's it? Wir sind die Jäger.
I have no idea what you just said there. Ein, zwei, drei. Okay, 1, 2, 3. But the what?
Wir sind die Jäger. Like I tried to say, we are the hunters.
Oh, wir sind die Jäger.
Wir sind die Jäger.
Die Jäger.
Die Jäger. Die Jäger.
Wo sind die Jäger? Ja, keine Ahnung. Wir sind die Jäger. 1, 2, 3. 3, 4 Kölner Bier.
I don't speak that much German. I only know like a few phrases that I picked up from anime. So it's like if I heard it in anime, I'd be like, oh yeah, I heard ein, zwei, drei in anime. And I heard like wir sind die Jäger in anime.
Ja, wir sind die Jäger. I like German. It's actually a nice language, which is weird because in the Netherlands, there are two kinds of people. The ones that hate the Germans because of the Second World War. I have no idea why. And the ones who like the Germans because, you know what, they're not that far different than the Dutch. Kind of funny, my grandparents lived through the Second World War and they never hated the Germans. So when I was young and I was learning about the Second World War at school, I learned a lot from my grandparents. And they were not in favor of the Nazis, but they always made very clear you had the German and you had the Nazi. They're not the same. That's the same thing as now we have the white man and we have Antifa. They're not the same. Anyway, back to Deutsch gefällt mir gut. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Let's not turn this stream into a German thing because I don't have that much of a German public, I think. I don't have that much of a public to begin with. Now, we have been rambling a bit, so we haven't been talking about gun violence or violence in general at this point in time. Okay, I'm going to respond to Mark Lithic at the moment. I would like to point out that the people hate current Germans because of globalist brainwashing. They want to blame nationalism for a Marxist dystopia. I'm not really sure you're correct on that one, Mark. I understand where you're coming from, but I think most Germans also have this problem. Well, maybe not most, but a lot of the Germans have this problem. Don't forget that Angela Merkel has been defeated squarely in Germany, and still she has a right to sit where she's sitting. It's not just Angela Merkel's CDU, by the way. It's also the Grüne, which are as communistic as fuck. People like that, oh, terrible. So, yeah. There is a problem in Germany and in the rest of Europe, to be honest. I like it how people continuously keep talking about how people are right-wing in Europe. And I'm like, name me one right-wing party in Europe. Most people can't. And I'm waiting for them to make AfD illegal in Germany, Real Raven. Yeah, I think you might have a point. They are going to try that. I mean, can you imagine? A politician from AfD is being attacked, is being hospitalized in Germany, and they're blaming the AfD for being attacked. Yeah, but they don't like this. They don't say the things we want to say. What a very communistic way to respond.
Yeah, the left, they seem really communistic. They don't say the things that you want them to say, so silence them.
But it's somewhat scary. And AfD is considered to be a nationalistic party, which I don't really agree with, to be honest. They are somewhat nationalistic, but not really. But if we look at the European countries, or even in America, people have gone to believe that nationalism is a bad word because we are now made to believe that globalism is such a good idea. But no one is being helped by globalism.
Oh yeah, I remember that. Like, I think that this is related to like how me and Social Equalizer were complaining about. Well, I was still complaining about capitalism, but Social Equalizer was complaining about capitalism, and I think that he said something about like capitalism causes slavery because there was like something involving bananas, and I forgot most of the conversation, but involved bananas and some, I think Jamaica or some other country, some place, and it's like, yeah, how like
I stopped caring.
capitalism. Mhm.
I stopped caring about what Social Equalizer said. The dude's a troll. I mean, he's a troll. He's the worst troll I've ever met online. He's not worth two breaths of air to talk about, to be honest.
He wasn't always a troll. He didn't always troll people he disagreed with. There was, when we first met, I mean, he was actually really civil, and he actually did try to engage and have conversation and, pitch his ideas, but it's just that he no longer believes that he could have a civil conversation with the opposition, so he gave up trying.
Yeah, well, maybe, but all I've noticed from him is that he's a very vile troll, to be honest. So I'm done talking about him. I'm not going. Listen, if he wants to come talk to me and he wants to be honest about what he's saying, then yeah, sure. But he's about as honest as water is solid on a summer day.
I mean, he's really opinionated and outspoken, but it's just that he used, like, when I first met him, he was a lot more civil, a lot more polite, and he was really all about sharing his ideas. It's just that he just lost all faith with a conversation, and he just isn't really trying anymore. He's doing
Well,
his own thing.
I don't mind people opinionated. I'm opinionated too. So there's nothing wrong with being opinionated, but at least know what opinion you hold and why you hold it. And if someone comes with evidence, respond to that evidence. Don't try to straw man. But yeah, no, I've said enough about the guy. I'm not even going to continue on that one. I'm going to go back to the stream, see what the people in the stream are saying. The girl in Australia. Okay, so whole room against her because Hitler was from Australia, and indeed, Mahler was from Australia too. What about Ludwig von Mises? One of my favorite economists. Actually, he's my second favorite economist. Anyone dare guessing who my most favorite economist is? No one? Well, it's only written on the screen.
I mean, I don't know who. I guess Thomas Sowell.
Thomas Serlo? No, no, no. He's no. My most favorite economist is Sowell, Thomas Sowell.
Oh yeah, I mispronounced his last name. Yeah,
Oh,
I said Thomas Sowell, but I didn't know it's pronounced Soul.
I
Or
think it is.
he's the black guy that wrote
Yep,
Basic Economics.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I met that guy.
He is absolutely brilliant. Though, in all fairness, he is my most favorite economist. He's not so much an economist. Most people would recognize him a philosopher and not so much an economist because he's not really busy with economy. Or most of his work, I know, isn't about economy. But he is an economist. That's his education. So yeah, between him and Ludwig von Mises, I would have loved to see the two of them have a discussion about stuff. I really would have loved that.
You don't see too many discussions anymore because people, when they go online, people want to see other people fight. So you don't really see any real discussions anymore. The only time you see people discuss things is when there is a quotes unquote echo chamber. Like you and I, we would be considered like this screen, this would be considered a quotes echo chamber, but it's because we're civil with each other. We don't agree on everything. There are things we disagree with. We're just polite and we don't devolve into name calling and insulting each other and bashing each other. It's the same thing with Dave Rubin, Ben Shapiro, and Jordan Peterson. They're in a quotes, echo chamber. At least that's what the left call it. Like, oh, the left are like, aren't you guys a part of an echo chamber? But it's like, it's because you can't really have a civil conversation with the other side because they'll call you a white supremacist, a neo-Nazi, and nobody really wants to deal with that.
Yeah, that's the thing, though. People don't want to challenge their beliefs. This is something I've said in our chats in the past. It doesn't matter which philosophy you believe in or which religion you believe in. It doesn't matter. As soon as you start defending your religion or your philosophy as if it can do no wrong, you've already lost any argument because you are unable to be realistic. I mean, I'm a great proponent when it comes to certain things, but I also recognize that within reality, no philosophy is big enough to hold it all. I'm a great proponent of nationalism. I'm absolutely not a proponent of ethno nationalism. But I'm also not a proponent of multiculturalism. I'm very much against multiculturalism. But those three things don't make me an ethno nationalist.
I like civic nationalism.
Yeah, well, civic nationalism sounds okay, but it's not enough. It's not enough.
How is civic nationalism not enough?
Because it opens the door for totalitarian thinking as well.
How does it do that?
Okay. So what should a civic nationalist stand for?
I mean, it's kind of like, for me, I don't care who comes into the country as long as they come in legally and as long as they're willing to assimilate.
Define assimilate.
Like speaking the language, willing to work here, like not taking advantage of the system, like not come here to just be on welfare, but like speak, the language, like
Yeah.
that,
Yeah. But civic nationalism does define it a little bit sharper than that. There are more to it. Personally, I go down to 3 rules. You're welcome to come in my country as long as you abide by these 3 rules. You obey all the laws, you learn to speak the language in a decent way, and you earn your own keep. If you do these 3 things, I don't care where you come from.
Though, to be fair, even Americans break some of the minor laws, like speeding, like speed, I speed,
That's
So,
okay. As soon as you break the law, you accept the punishment. Do you accept the punishment?
Yes, I accept the punishment.
That's still part of allowing and obeying the laws.
So it's kind of like if a person were to come here illegally and they were speeding, which is something that many Americans do, I don't think that they should be kicked out for speeding.
No,
I do.
they should be kicked out for coming in illegally because that's somewhat more of a crime than speeding.
So if somebody was just speeding and they try to apply for citizenship, but they were speeding, I just think that they should still stay.
No, but there's a difference between a crime and a misdemeanor.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's the whole thing. There's a difference between a crime and a misdemeanor. I mean, yeah, jaywalking is a crime too. Well, no, it's a misdemeanor, but it's against the law too. But that doesn't really mean it's already a big problem. What do you think about the right to vote after 15 years? I lost my right to vote in Germany because I don't live there anymore. Okay. Real Raven, you know my wife is Polish. You know that, right? I don't feel she has the right to vote in the Netherlands. Oh, she has the right to vote for the government of the city, but not for the country. When it comes to the country, she has a right to vote in Poland for her country. And when it comes to the European Union, she has a right to vote in Poland for the European Union until she naturalizes. If she says, okay, I'm no longer Polish, I'm going to be Dutch and do so legally, then she has full rights to vote in the Netherlands, but no longer in Poland. Does that make sense?
It makes sense to me.
I mean, everyone should have one vote, sure. But should everyone have a vote in the country where they live? No, not really. I mean, are you living there permanently or are you just living there for a few years? Yeah. Yeah. Now, my wife has a permanent residence in the Netherlands, but she's not naturalized. So when it comes to the country's government, yeah, sure. I don't care if she votes in Poland. It's a bit double, but she doesn't have a say in the country's government in the Netherlands when it's up to me. Well, or you don't vote. But it's kind of funny because we in Europe we have. Is it that expensive? That's quite expensive. I didn't know Ireland was that expensive. I mean, ask how expensive it is. Next time when you go for it, ask how expensive it is for a refugee. Because you can always go for refugee status. No, actually, you can't anymore because you're already living in Ireland. Yeah, there is that. Yeah, we could go to England and ask asylum in England because we don't like to be British. Sorry, we don't like to be European citizens. Well, just become an American. I'm not sure who you mean with Rev, but I think you mean Real Raven. There is actually a validity to that claim then, Ludicrous. Because in Germany, you can be charged with criticizing Islam, which is one of the tenets of an Islamic country. So, yeah, you could say Germany has turned Islamic. Claim that you are trying to escape from a Muslim country because Germany has become Muslim. Anywho, did I still do that? I have this turned on. Phooey. So yeah, but it's kind of funny because of the European Union, for example, in the Netherlands, it's no longer allowed to, for example, download movies.
Well, what do you mean no longer allowable to download movies? Like, do you mean like iTunes or like you can't
No,
download on iTunes
no,
or
no.
Amazon? Or
We
what?
were in the Netherlands. We were allowed to download movies, like for example Napster or BitChute. No, not BitChute actually. Torrents we aren't allowed, but Napster sites like Napster, we were allowed to use in the Netherlands because we paid for that. When we
Oh,
buy,
you're talking about like Article 13.
no, that's not even Article 13. It's older than that. If we go back in time, um, in the Netherlands, you were allowed to download. We're talking about Napster time, before torrents. We were allowed to download because download programs were created by companies like Disney and Comcast and etc. etc. And because the Dutch government recognized that people can put movies online, downloading a movie wasn't illegal. Uploading a movie was illegal. If you don't own the rights to a movie, you weren't allowed to upload it. So torrents are disputable because you both download and upload. But in the Netherlands, if you downloaded, past tense, downloaded movies or music, you were legally allowed to do that. And because you were legally allowed to do that, they put tariffs on information carrying devices. So if you were to buy an empty CD so that you could burn music on it or something, you paid copyright. Well, how do you call it? Well, you paid to be able to download music and put it on your CD. Or you paid to download a movie. It was only like a few euro per purchase, depending on how big it was. But you would pay extra money when you buy information carriers. Even if you were just buying a phone, you are paying extra money because your phone can be used to store movies and music. But in 2015, the Dutch government, pushed by the European government, to be honest, made downloading illegal in the Netherlands. But we're still paying when we buy materials where we can put information on. So I'm still paying extra for my phone, or when I buy empty DVDs, or when I'm buying a USB stick. No, not a few euro each song, Real Raven. A few euros when you're buying a bunch of empty DVDs or CDs. You okay, Brent?
Yeah, I'm fine. But how about you send Real Raven a hangout link?
I said he's welcome to come, but he's working on a piece of music for a competition. So he didn't want to.
Oh, I see.
No, Real Raven. That's not just like back in the days with cassette tapes. That's also during these days. We in the Netherlands we still pay for this, for CDs, DVDs. Sleep well, Leprechaun. See you next time, mate. We pay it for CDs, DVDs, USBs, telephones, computers, hard disks, removable hard disks, all of these things. If you buy it, you pay extra because you are allowed to put copyrighted material on it. Well, if you want to join, go on then. Link sent, Real Raven. Let's wait for him to join us then. I guess it won't take too long. Just clicky on the clicky. Sorry.
I'm gonna go take a nap. Thank you for having me on your show.
Yeah, you're more than welcome, Rin. Sleep well. I hope you can rest. And seriously, check with your
More than
physician on vitamin D. It might actually help.
All right. Hi, Real Raven. How are you?
Hi, Rin. I got
Bye,
echo
Nick
vibes.
Radio. See you next time, mate.
Yes, see you
Can you hear
next
me?
time.
Yeah, I can hear you, real. We can hear you.
I'm just trying to keep it down because my wife's asleep upstairs, or maybe she's trying to.
She's pretending to be asleep so that you feel guilty for not coming to bed yet.
Exactly. Yeah, I mean, it's more than just a little clicky. I do that with Chrome, the Hangout, so it's like flying a spaceship. This, and I was chatting in your chat, and I was chatting on the Produce Like a Pro public chat room as well, and I was entering the wrong thing in the wrong chat. That's funny.
Hey, Smirkus. I didn't know you were there as well, Smirkus. Yeah, sure, mate. Send you the link.
So yeah, I mean, I'm not really that keen on voting in Ireland. I'm just a little bit pissed that I can't vote in Germany. They had this thing called Briefwahl where you get you can do it via letter, but apparently you still have to have permanent residence in Germany. So it makes no sense.
Okay, I didn't know that.
Yeah, that's kind of stupid, I mean, it's probably like for people who work on a oil rig or something, but they have a house at home.
Hello.
Hi,
Hey,
Smirkus.
So, yeah. Hey, but you're making something for a competition. What's the competition about?
Yeah, it's a remix. So it's a YouTube channel called Produce Like a Pro, and they have the guy's called Warren Hewitt, and he's a Grammy Award-winning mixer, and he has a couple of other people. It's quite an interesting setup they have. So he's mixing and he's doing live streams, and they do once a year or once every 6 months. They do competitions. Like a mix competition. So they made a song specifically with one of his artists for the competition, and it was funny because they only put out the ideas the first week, so it was just like a little bit of a vocal and a little bit of guitar, and I jumped straight onto it and I wrote lots of chords and thought, okay, this is where it's gonna go. And then 1 week later they gave 16 other tracks, and then 1 week later it was like 39 tracks, and then all right. That changes everything. And then I had to change. I took the bass lines and I moved them down so that they would fit with my new chords. But I mean, the competition, I already listened to like probably 30 remixes from other people, and man, people are so like adventurous and so creative, like all sorts of kind of genres, like techno or disco, whatever, whatever the genres are that the kids use nowadays, and EDM and whatnot. I thought mine was kind of out there, but compared to what a lot of other people do, it's like, yeah. It's in the chat anyway if you want to listen to it.
Yeah, I saw the link. I'll try to listen to it. I've been trying to make my own music. Funny enough,
Cool.
I still want to make songs.
Yeah,
but so I've downloaded. Well, let me show you. Come here.
You downloaded some software or some tracks for mixing.
Some software. I'm crap at it though. I'm really, really bad.
Acid used to be really nice. Acid, that was a software where you could kind of draw in loops. You'd kind of have some loops and then you just repeat them and mix them together. So you didn't even need to be a musician for it,
Like Music Maker and shit.
I've got this one, which is
I don't know that one.
LMMS, which is a free music maker.
Right.
And then you can choose your instrument. Just take an instrument. Cool. I'll take a guitar. Okay.
Yeah. So you got a chord there.
And I'm going to say, okay, come on. Oh, stupid me.
You can probably drag that shit, can't you?
No, you can't. You can't. But I'm going to make you big so that people can see that you have these are the different notes. But
it's so cool.
You can't play two notes at once, because if you play two notes at once, it fucks up.
No, that was two samples that played at the same time.
How do you like this?
It's a little bit
That's funny.
But yeah, I try to make something like this, but I can't, obviously, because of crap. Hey,
I used to mess around with Fruity Loops a lot.
Let me see if I can share my. Since this is not copyright, what's good about the mix competitions is that I can actually put it on my portfolio, so they don't have they don't forbid you to play the music live. So it's kind of nicer, It's not like when I do a parody and I have to be really careful that I don't play any of the original tracks, that specifically is like made for kind of sharing, which is nice. Let me see if it's.
yeah, to respond to you, Smirkers, I tried Fruity Loops as well, or rather, I wanted to try it, but it's not free, and I'm how do you call that? Oh yeah, cheap.
Cheap.
You mean Dutch?
Yeah, that too. This is the worst playthrough of Sekiro. What's Sekiro? It's a game, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a fairly new game, isn't it?
I don't know it.
Oh yeah, I got it. I was just trying if I could share mine, but it's pointless if I can't share the sound. So let me see. Where do I share screen? So you see what I
downloaded Fruity Loops like ages ago.
Oh, Fruity Loops, that was brilliant. Yeah, Fruity Loops was
I also
really fun.
I also have a Korg EMX here, Electroid.
That's like a synthesizer, is it?
Yeah, it's hardware to mess around with.
But
Yeah.
with Fruity Loops, you can do stuff like this, right?
Mm-hmm.
But these are all what you're showing us now, Real Raven. These are all samples, right?
Well, they're not samples; they're tracks. So they actually recorded the real singer. So his initial idea was this guitar idea. Let me see. At guitars. Here we go. Just need to blow it up a bit. Sorry, I'm not a terrorist, but I need to blow it up. Yeah. That's the original idea. That's basically the. And then he added some vocals. Can you hear it?
Yeah, sounds nice.
This is after processing. We just loop that.
So first you record this.
So yeah, they recorded that, right? So they give us the tracks, and then we do some processing with it. Let's say, for instance, if you have this guitar, this is what it sounds like. Let me see. This is what it sounds like naked, like. Yeah, and then if I add processing, then it sounds like this. So I added a de-esser because there was some squeaks. I added this. This is a preamp to make it sound more analog. This is fab filter to get rid of some low frequencies, and I added some compression. That makes a big difference. Makes it more brighter. And then I added more compression here. This. Okay, so. And then he added this voice. Where is it? Let me see. Bass. Let me just give you the voice. Just give you things. Okay, this is way blown up. Sorry, I'll make it a bit smaller.
And like always,
So
there's dozens of tracks.
There's lots of tracks. Yeah, that's all guitars. All this blue stuff is guitars, right? So the chorus is pretty nice, actually. This is what it sounds like. That's all guitars. So there's loads of guitars there. And the singer is here. There's the vocals. Let's open the vocals.
It's been a year, still it's not clear if we can ever be friends.
So that's the main vocal there for the verse.
When every word hangs like a curse over our
Then they add some drums.
heads.
I added some piano. I did that myself because I wanted to sweeten it a
Been a
bit.
year, still it's not clear if we can ever be friends. when every word hangs like a curse over our heads.
You know, that little doodle-doodle-dum, that little motif I added. And then they have this bass and amazing drums on it. They're just really high-tech drums. At the start, they're very simple, but then there's this percussion track that comes in.
I don't think we can be friends.
And you can see this volume rights here, so I make sure that it kind of comes in and has impact. And there's little tricks, you know, when you're doing production, you cut out stuff, so you have this moment of silence before the chorus hits. So you just hear the snap, snap, you know, and everybody, oh, there's a snap, you know, there's lots of stuff happening, you know. So you need to make sure that you, but I made an orchestra part because it felt so much in the pre-chorus, you know, after the verse, this.
I don't think we can be friends.
Oh, I changed the chord there. It was C major and made it F major. So I got
when we said goodbye,
that sounds like that's a chorus. Then mid-8 and then breakdown, and then I made an orchestra section. That's an interesting one, actually.
What software is that?
That's Cubase.
Hey, Potter.
Yeah, extra kicks. Oh wait, wait to the breakdown. Watch that. So here.
Hi there, Father, by the way.
What?
Hi there, Father, by the way. I said hi.
Oh, Father.
I was actually enjoying that music.
This is.
I know the song.
This is orchestra. This is orchestra Modwain. So so it's basically it's philharmonic. Wait a sec. Here it is. So it's this 5 celli, 4 basses, then 4 cellos playing tremolo, 14 violins, 8 violas, 14 violins, pizzicato, French horns, and oboes. And in solo, it sounds like this. Hold on, let me just solo the orchestra there. Kind of builds up behind the guitar and everything.
Wow. You see, I downloaded that music program because I wanted to make some music myself for my own channel, both my Dutch one and my English one.
Yeah.
And I can't get the hang of it. It pisses me off so much. There's a song called Komt Vrienden in den Ronde. Wait a second. Maybe I can make you hear it.
Yeah. See all these tracks. So I just mix that down to one track, the orchestra mix, and then I just write the volume on it. And oh yeah, I have a filter on this, so it kind of goes dull. Where is it? Let me see. Let me get that filter. So that's a filter, right? It's modeled after hardware, so it kind of goes kind of.
The real reason I have to say, I love listening to what you say. I really do. But I can't make it for sales of your explanation. I really don't understand.
Yeah,
but
okay, listen to the orchestra, what it does. It goes, you know, it goes kind of dull. That's to prepare for the next part. Yeah, and that's in the mix. That's what it sounds like. You can almost play it from there. Actually, from the mid-8, just to see.
I don't think we can be friends. I don't think we can be friends.
Who are you mixing here?
Sorry?
Who are you mixing here?
Oh, it's called.
Who are you? Am I roboting?
No, you're not. You want to hear my answer?
Well,
the band's
no,
called.
I recognize the voice. I recognize the music, but they don't quite match up. Who is this?
It's. I think the band's called. The band's called Workday Release, and I think the artist is called David something. He's one of the house artists for Warren Hewart, who has a recording studio over in LA, and he makes these courses. You know, so you get to download and mix his tracks. You know, and then you can. And this is for a mix competition, basically. and that's a collaboration between the singer and then another guy who's a keyboard player who does he did all these kind of fancy kind of drum fills and all this stuff, you know. And I think Warren played some guitar on it. So it's basically three guys who made this music. They recorded everything. I only added the orchestra because I thought it fell a bit much without it. You know, if I have that without that, then it would sound like this. If I mute the orchestra.
Nights with the light of you burning bright, visiting ghosts. Nights with the light of you burning bright, visiting ghosts. Nights with the light of you burning bright, visiting ghosts. Nights with the light of you burning bright, visiting ghosts. I'm letting go.
That goes back to electronics. The bass is kind of interesting. Synth pulse.
I don't think we can be friends.
Yeah. Added this massive bass at the end. Where is it? The bass. There. Yeah.
So, Smirkus, can you make something like this?
I don't think we can be
I can't.
I don't think we can be
A real Raven.
I don't think we can be friends.
Yeah. Give me half an hour and I'll make this
it's very commercial, you know, but it's really fun, you know.
It sounds full, and I know.
I can never get it to sound full.
Yeah.
Well, to make it sound full, I have a mastering stage, you know, at the end. That's the mastering channel. That's where everything comes together, right? Mm-hmm. And on that, I use 3 plugins, SSL, compression, master desk, and stealth limiter. They add quite a bit of oomph to the whole loudness, you know. Wait, yeah. This is modeled after the SSL console. Then this is a mastering compression tool, and this is a limiter which kind of gives you the last little dB. So if I switch those off, then it's a lot less loud, like like this, then at this, and then at this. So every one of these plugins adds 2 or 3 dB more loudness, you know. So at the end you get this full sound, you know. But you have to know what you're doing. If you don't do it right, you get an awful mess, you know. Oh, yeah. So you have to have a really clean mix before you can apply these, you know.
Can I also point something else out? I actually saw a video of Raven's equipment last year, and I'm only assuming that they were added on. How many thousands of dollars are you into the shit, Raven?
Oh,
you're good at it. Don't get me wrong. This ain't no like jab at you.
Are you talking software?
For the software and hardware.
I mean, since
combination software and hardware.
I mean, the hardware isn't too bad. It was like I think £1,200 for the PC, you know. But then I got the latest, the Cubase and the recording interface. That was, I think, 700. So about $2,000
more like the noise.
$2,000 about in hardware, right? $2,000 in hardware, but software it varies. You see, I mean, one of these plugins, something like this, could cost you $250 to $300, but they always have these sales on, you know. So I got this for $29, you know, and I got the T-Rex collection. T-Rex, that's plugins like this. There's about like 40 in there, and the mastering plugins. I think I got them for $199, but the regular price is $400 or $500, you know. Then the Waves. This is a Waves plugin. There's collections. I started with the gold collection about 2 years ago. That's kind of $150, but that's when it's on offer, you get it for $99, and when it's not on offer, you get it for like $200-300, and there's like 40 plugins in it. But I have everything from Waves now, you know. What I'm doing is I'm on the mailing lists, and whenever I get an email, special offer, Black Friday sale or whatever, you get shit tons of stuff fairly cheaply, you know. So I don't know, in software I would reckon about maybe another maybe 1.5 to 2,000 euros in software, you know. something like that. I mean, the Philharmonic was expensive. The orchestra, that's like €200 just for the orchestra, you know. I mean, okay,
Wait, you get the right for that or what? Like,
again?
if I grab music off the internet,
Yeah.
which guaranteed you've done, how don't I get copyright strikes? Like, if you're copywriting, essentially, if you're taking things out of the Philharmonic, how are you avoiding copyright strikes?
Well, Philharmonic it's not music, it's an orchestra, and you put the music in yourself. You tell it to play something, right? So it's basically, it's like a synthesizer, you know. It's just samples. So if I enable that, then you can hear.
So essentially, you can give it Metallica
You know, here,
music. And it'll play Metallica and Philharmonic.
Here, like there's like basses, right? Cellos, violins. So you can put in your own music, you know, then like violas, bench horns, oboes, you know.
It's
So
just
it's a whole
basically,
orchestra, you know.
from a whole orchestra.
It's a whole orchestra, you know, and just sampled in a thing.
Yep.
And how expensive is that one?
It's about €200. This
Wow.
one. Which is good because it's, you know, it's much cheaper than inviting a whole orchestra to your place, you know.
But still. See, the thing is, I'm going to let you listen to something. I want to start capturing old Dutch songs for my Dutch channel, both as background music and as intro music. So I want to make something like this, and I think this is the right one. Give me a sec.
Okay. I need to watch your screen now. Wait.
No, because it's about the song, so I don't care about how it looks. Yeah, this is not what I wanted. So okay. That's the thing. I can find this one, but then there's also singing with it, but I don't care about that.
It's funny.
In het ronde, minnaars van evenstuur. Ik zal u gaan verwonden, hoe ik tot slijpers vuur. De kost verdient voor vrouw en kind.
So I want to have that one, just
Yeah.
musical, not singing. I want to do some singing over it myself eventually, and I want
Oh,
to.
I can help you. I can help you maybe with that if you send me the track. I have a plugin from Isotope called Music Rebalance, and it gives you a couple of sliders. One is for the vocals, so you can kind of take a lot of the vocals out.
I don't have. I mean, I have it on YouTube. You know what I mean?
Yeah, then send me the link, you know. And there's a slider for the bass, a slider for drums, you know, so you can take elements out of a full mix. I don't know how good it is. I mean, obviously it'll deteriorate the quality somewhat, but it might be good enough for your purposes.
There's another one.
Speaking about hobbies, that ultimately are for producing money. Me and Ben have all the wood ready for the next table.
Sorry, I didn't hear what you say, mate.
Said me and Ben collected all the wood for the next table. So that's pretty cool.
That's cool. That is very cool. May I play the second song that I kind of hope to be able to get for my own channel?
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
What are you asking us for? It's your stream.
Oh my god.
Yeah, this sounds terrible.
Sounds terrible. It's MIDI, is it?
But this is the song. I mean, let me see if I can get a better version.
Yeah.
Oh,
God, that's very loud.
commercial. Well, that's okay. You can only hear the commercial.
That's nice.
That's the intro. So.
It sounds very homely.
Well, it is. It's an old Dutch song. It's Waar de blanke top der duinen. Basically, it sings about.
No, don't say it. Just tell us the Dutch lyrics, and we have to guess what it means.
Okay. Yeah, I don't have to. Waar de blanke top der duinen glittert in de voorjaarsgloed. Something like that.
Okay. Waar say the first line again. Waar de dennen.
Waar de blanke top der duinen.
All right. So it's basically about a blonde.
No.
It sounds like it's about a blonde goose that loses its feathers.
Blanke top der duinen means the white top of the dunes, and the dunes.
Okay, the downing. All right.
See, that the thing is, once you show pride in your own country's history, people tend to think like, oh well, then it must be racist. No, listen to the lyrics.
Just a little nutty.
And there's another song that I really, really like to be able to make myself as well, which I can't because I'm crap. So there is that. I have to look at it. It's a Polish song. See if I can find it like that. No, of course not. Oh, wait a second. I downloaded it, so I should have it here somewhere. I should. There. Because I did want to do more. Sokobi. Okay, that's because I didn't want to do more songs, to be honest.
Yeah. But like you want something traditional. I mean, that sounded like a traditional song, like a folk song.
It is. Hey Sokobi is original as well. It's Polish. I think this is the one. I love this one. I really do. I didn't know it. So.
Cool.
I'm very presidential.
This is so fucking strong. This is a very old song. It still comes back from the time of the Polish-Ukrainian. I think Polish-Ukrainian. Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth, and it talks about how warriors. Wow. Mm-hmm. Even when I'm thinking about it, powerful. Oh, sorry. I have to regain my emotions for a second.
Okay, no worries.
It talks about the warriors going away.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not about nationalism, it's about pride.
Mm-hmm. About the warriors going away to do what? To save the country.
Obviously. Yeah. To save the country, to save our way of life, to save our women and children.
Especially Poland. I mean, they had a really hard time. They were invaded, God knows how many times.
Yeah. Well, that's true for every country in Europe, to be honest. But this song is so powerful. It's kind of why I liked. I still have the lyrics. I still haven't finished it, but that is also why I wanted to use the Bella Ciao song as a background for one of my songs as well.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, blowing my nose might help.
It's interesting. It's just that it's not easily accessible to a more modern audience because people don't listen to that type of music anymore. You see, so the question is whether you want to like redo it in a traditional way or maybe put a more modern slant on it. You know, reuse the melody, reuse the lyrics, but put it into a different genre.
It's not going to be reusing the lyrics. It's reusing the melody for sure because. It's the same with the Bella Ciao. Maybe I can bring it back. Bella Ciao, where are you? Okay. I'm going to find simple version. No, I'm going to find a very strong version. What's the name of that Dutch orchestra guy? Names. Well, let's do it like this. I like to find it like this. Andre Rio, here it is. This is
Oh yeah, I know it. Bella Ciao, yeah.
I like this kind of music.
yeah, that's enough of that.
Cool.
Like these have history. They have meaning.
Yeah.
This is why I like to do that Skibbereen song with you, because that was the first. Because
That
songs
was
like that, well, they have a lot of power to them. And
That was a good collaboration, yeah.
It's a great song. So I want to have version of these songs so I can use them. This is Skibbereen one. I think Sony or something claimed it. Like, we made everything in that song.
Yeah,
but
I think you can.
Yeah, but the melody is more than 200 years old.
Yeah, they can't. I don't think they can claim it. I mean, it's a folk song unless they can say, "Oh, it's exactly." I don't know. It sounds like. I don't know. I think that you can tell them to f off anyway.
Yeah, well,
I wouldn't.
anyway, so I don't care. But sorry,
I'll
go
be
on.
honest, I wouldn't start fighting claims until you're monetized. Like until you're actually trying to make money. Because
Yeah,
all it means is somebody else is going to run an ad on your video and they get the money.
yeah. Well, that's true, but I don't care. But yeah, songs like these, Bella Ciao, Hey Sequoia, Skibbereen, these are all songs that have a very powerful message. And we need,
Especially your lyrics were good on the Skibbereen song.
thank you. I really enjoyed making it. I really love it. But at the same time, at one point I was hoping that I could do the other songs with you as well. And at the other point, I'm like, yeah, but you have your own things going now. You want to make your money, and I shouldn't impose on you too much.
Yeah, I wouldn't worry if it's not too complicated. It's always good to collab, to do something. I've been so lazy on my own channel, you know. It's good to do something, you know, once in a while as an exercise to force yourself. And I get more stuff finished when I collaborate with people, you know, rather than trying to do anything on my own.
I have to redo the lyrics of the Bella Ciao one because reality has passed it already, unfortunately.
Yeah, and I mean that track that you played, that version, very nice. I mean, maybe we can download that and remove if there is if there's a voice on it, remove it. You know, maybe it can be done. You know, I mean, obviously then it's more like.
But this, I'm linking it in the chat. It is from a published artist.
Yeah.
So yeah, he doesn't own the melody, but he owns this version.
Yeah, so you'd have to replay the music, and that's obviously more work. It depends. I mean, it sounds really lovely, and these acoustic instruments are hard to replicate. You know, I don't play balalaika or you know bass or anything, and when you're using samples, it often sounds stiff.
Is there not a music program where you can just put in like the notes, request the beat, and go from there? Like, is there not a music program that will do that? So you pick guitar, and then you punch in the musical notes, and then you.
Yeah, I mean, I can do that in Cubase, but the problem is it doesn't sound like a real guitar. You know, I do have loads of, I have samples and I can punch in the notes, but it's very hard to make that sound believable, even if you have recordings of each of the notes, because you know, if you play a single note, that sounds different than when you play like a chord, or you know, it on an instrument sounds very different, especially guitar. So that's why I started to teach myself guitar, because it's not the same. You know, I may have so many amp simulations and sounds in Sample Tank. That's a big sampling program, but it's not the same as just grabbing an acoustic guitar and picking some notes. It's, you know, it's
No, I get that. It's I was just curious because.
But there is in principle, yes. In principle, yes. But in principle, it takes an awful long time to make something sound. Orchestra is a bit easier in some respects, because you usually have a mixture of different sounds, and then the ear doesn't, you know, you have 14 violins, you know, rather than just one. So you get that whole like sound of the 14 violins in the room, you know. That's the way that they recorded it. And you get different articulations, you know, the one where they play low and one where they play loud, and you have to mix those. But it gets more and more work, you know, when you do it like, if you want to do it, make it sound really like a real orchestra. A lot of film music is made like that, you know, using orchestra plugins first, and then before the film actually gets made, they hire the orchestra and then they replay it, you know. But you can get pretty close if you're clever. But the harder songs are the ones that have only one or two instruments, because, you know, then you can really hear it, you know, like what you played. You had the accordion, you know, and that's such a breathing instrument, you know. It's loud and it's not loud, and you know, it's kind of welling in and out, you know. So
link something in the side chat where I used to want to make like a hip hop beat with that intro.
Like in the Legendary Tales Rhapsody.
Yeah. And can we play that for a little bit?
Oh, I like Rhapsody, by the way. Which song is this? Legendary Tales. Okay.
Yeah, that intro, I always thought it would be cool to put something like that into a hip hop beat or something.
Yeah, that wouldn't be too hard now. That intro, for instance, that's like a that's a sound I can replicate here.
I forgot. It's like a piano, but not a piano.
Yeah, it's not a piano, but I can show you what it is.
Isn't it a harpsichord or something like that?
Yeah, it's something like, but it's maybe a harpsichord, but it could be.
Play that instrument. Can you imagine that?
Yeah, I know someone as well who had one. But I can add an instrument here, and I use Piano Tech because it has some nice simulations. Okay, so there's a Piano Tech here for you.
The entire self-defense arguments.
Right. And then I can have I have a real Grimaldi, for instance, harpsichord here. So I'll just switch it so I can remote control it.
Modwain?
Yeah, sorry.
Did I miss the self-defense kind?
Yeah, mate, you missed that.
So that's a harpsichord, right? But
yeah.
what they use, I think, is more like a clavinet, and there's electronic ones, you know, something like this. That one, that's not the piano. Let's go clavinet here. Let's get. No, that kind of a sound. They're electric clavinets and they have pickups. So. Just need the right kind of key, you know. And then add a bit of reverb, maybe. You know, spring reverb. Let's see.
It's kind of funny because we're now doing the after stream live.
What?
We are doing the after stream live. I don't think anyone's watching anymore. We're not talking about the subject anymore.
Well,
Basically,
usual, isn't it?
I'm going to hang up the live part of this. I mean, we could continue here, but
Hey, you know what? I got no complaints hearing fucking Raven do this.
no, me neither. But I'm not going to do it live because
it's not a music stream.
and I would love to do a stream with Raven on making music, definitely, or rather to have him skills. But thanks everyone for coming, and I know there's no one in the stream anyway, so I'm going to close.
We've scared